creates the attack. And he tells the board that we are going to attack Constantinople. We are going to attack the heart of the Roman Empire, and we will wipe them out. The people, they look at him, how old are you? You're such a young guy. You have no idea. You have no skill. How are you going to drop down the Roman Empire? He says, I will do it. This person, he studies the geography of the area, and he builds a castle on the other side of the Bosphorus. After building another castle there, if you look at the way Constantinople joins with Europe, he built it in the perfect position. And thereafter he prepares his army, and he prepares them, and he begins to make many cannons. And in order to break down Constantinople, he knows that he has to break through the walls of Constantinople, which have defended the Roman Empire for over 1,000 years. Constantinople couldn't have been conquered because of their walls. They had very big walls, very big, long, tall brick walls. So because of this, no one can conquer them. And people had no idea what lied on the other side of the walls. Because there was a huge wall, and what was on the other side, people had no idea. So Sultan Muhammad Fatih II, he sends some soldiers, he says, dress up like the Romans, get inside their land, and map out the whole place. 2 people come inside, they map out the whole place. They use strings. They first come, they first see what material the wall is made of. And then after the wall, there was the castle that started. They measured how much area was between the two. And then they begin to study the moral of the people that were living in Constantinople. And they studied everything very deeply, and they came back to Sultan Muhammad Fatih II. And they tell him that this is the state of Constantinople. When he realized that people there were losing their moral because of the immorality of the leader, and because of his oppression, he found this is the perfect time to launch his attack. So now he began to study how he can break these walls. I'm giving a little lesson of the history so we know how the Muslims conquered the world. How the Muslims were so powerful, and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them izzah. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them respect. So Sultan Muhammad Fatih II, when he studied the setup of Constantinople, he began to design the cannons that were going to break down the walls himself. For the very first time in history, an 8-inch radius cannon was prepared. First time in history. He prepared one. And when he prepared it and used it, when they tested it, they realized that it wasn't powerful enough to break through the walls. It would break through one wall, but it wouldn't break through the second wall. So what he does is he calls on his people, he says, we need a person who can build a cannon that has 12-inch radius. We need someone to build a cannon that can shoot these balls 1 mile or more. Now they're studying where can we find such a person who can build this. So one person who snuck out of the Constantinople and was living in the boundaries of the Ottoman Empire, he says that there's one person I know that can do this. This person first offered his services to the Byzantines. When he offered his services to them, they couldn't afford his fees. They couldn't afford the project. So what they did was they realized that this person was very dangerous, so they locked him up in the cells. If anyone else got a hold of this person can cause a lot of destruction, so they locked him up in the cells. When they locked him in the cells, he says, now this person, he is the only person that can do your job, but he's locked in the cells. Sultan Muhammad Fatih II says to this person, have you ever seen the cells? He says, yes. He says, draw it out in front of me. So on the map they draw the person, he draws out the sketch of the prison and where exactly this person was. Sultan Muhammad Fatih II, he sends 3 people, and he says, I want you to break this person out of the cell. Break this person out of prison. These soldiers, they come, they dig a tunnel underground, which meets exactly where the prison was. They come inside, they break in the prison, they take this person, and they run out with him. They take this person, they run out, they bring him in front of Sultan Muhammad Fatih II. And this person, for the very first time, he builds this cannon. And then the Sultan Muhammad Fatih II, with 200,000 soldiers more or less, in 70 ships, they marched off towards Constantinople. They set siege outside Constantinople. He sends a messenger. The messenger, he arrives in front of the Roman Empire, the Roman emperor, and he says to him that we are going to set war against you. We will fight against you. We will destroy your nation unless you surrender to us. So now the Roman emperor says to them that you are here to fight against us. In the past 1,000 years, many people came, but the reality is you can never defeat us because you have no idea what the setting of our kingdom is because of the high walls we have. So now when he says this, he tells one of the Roman Empire, he tells one of his people, bring in front of me the structure or the model of our kingdom so we can show them. And there's no way you can ever break through our defenses. So when the person brings the model down, the ambassador, on behalf of the Muslims, without looking at the model, he says, you think we don't know of your model? And he tells them, your walls are so high, so thick. The gap between the 2 walls, between the castle and your defense wall is this much. that's also made of this material. Such a cannon with such power can break both walls down. How did you know of this? He said, we've done our homework. We're here to destroy you. Either you surrender to us, or otherwise we'll take you down. So they refuse to surrender. However, this person returns, and the Roman emperor, he writes a letter to the other countries that were also following Christianity at the time, and he demands reinforcement. So now the reinforcement is coming. They're coming in ships. The Muslims, they have their army outside, and they also have their ships in the Bosphorus. What these Romans did was they pulled up a chain through the Bosphorus. Bosphorus is a very narrow, you can say like a little lake or river that runs through. Very narrow. And that was the only way the ships could have ever entered into their land. So what they did was they pulled the chain up. By pulling the chain up, what does that do? That blocks all access to Constantinople. No ships can ever come there. So they pulled up the chain, so the Muslim ships are waiting, they're trying to get inside. When they see these ships coming from different countries with reinforcement inside them. So the Muslims, they go to try to block them down. Now the captains on the ships were very smart people. They used the wind to their advantage, and they drove past, and they went past the Muslims. When they went past the Muslims, the Romans quickly put the chain down, and they got those ships inside, and they pulled the chain back up. The Muslims were left behind the other side of the chain. Now when Sultan Muhammad Fatih II found out about this, he was so angry that he fired the chief in charge of the navy. He fired him. And he put another chief there. He said, it's your job to do whatever it takes to get our ships on the other side. The person sits down, he studies, says there's no way. They try to cut the chain, they try to do whatever they could. There's no way we can do this. Sultan Muhammad Fatih II says, I am determined. Whatever happens, these people will fall to our hands. Whatever it takes, I'll give my life to make sure they fall to our hands. And for the very first time in history, what he does is, through the mountains, he cuts all the trees. There was the Bosphorus, it went through, there was a chain that was hanging through the Bosphorus, and around the land, there were some mountains there. He cut the trees through the mountains, made a clear pathway, put planks of wood as a pathway, like a train track, many planks of wood there, and greased them up, so they were nice and smooth. He then, one by one, put on those woods 70 ships. And they dragged 70 ships over land. 70 ships they dragged over land with the help of cows and humans. The soldiers, they balanced the ship, and the cows, they pushed them through. They dragged 70 ships over land. And after they dragged 70 ships over land, those Romans, they thought they had all day to unload those ships. Before they realized the Muslim navy was on the other side of the chain, and they destroyed all of those ships. And as time passed by, they set siege on Constantinople. They showered their cannons on the walls. They weakened the walls, and finally the Muslims they conquered Constantinople. They came inside. The very famous soldier, he climbed to the top of the castle. He was the first person to get inside. He took his castle. He took this flag. He put it on top. The Muslim army, when they saw that someone finally got inside through a pathway, they all rushed towards it. So the Christians, the soldiers of Constantinople, when they saw this person standing there, and they knew that if the Muslims saw this flag, they would do anything to get inside from that pathway. They would know there's a gap there. So they began to fire arrows at him. Almost 20 arrows fell in his body. 20 arrows. They hit his body. He stood there with the flag. And finally, when 20 arrows hit his body, he dug the flag he pushed the flag into the castle, and he fell to the ground and he became shaheed. And the Muslims, they came inside and they conquered the entire Constantinople. And then when they conquered it, Sultan Muhammad Fatih II, he comes inside the famous church that was there. And when he comes inside, he says to the church that finally we have come to free you from the oppression that was being done upon you. People were worshipping other than Allah here. Inna al-arda lillah, this land belongs to Allah, only Allah should be worshipped here. And then he built a masjid in front of there. A very long incident of how the Muslims, they conquered. Very beautiful incident. And what we see though, coming back to the initial point, is that when great nations lost their tool and their defense system, which was their modesty, when they lost their modesty, they lost